Now let's create our feed component. So now remember, this component needs to be flexible enough that we can either display posted, that we can display either published or unpublished posts. Because we want this flexibility, we're going to pass in a prop that's called published, which we will then feed directly into our query. So we're using the feed query component that we're pulling from our generated Apollo components file. And we're passing in the variable published, which we're pulling off of props. Just like before, we're going to return either the text that says loading or error if either of those occur. But otherwise, we'll display the feed list. So we want to make sure that data is present, that data has feed in it, and that feed is greater than 0. So we want to take our feed list and pull off ID, title, and content. And then we want to build an array of objects for each item in the feed. Now we can define our columns. The first column will be title. The next one will be content. And so the last one will be action. So this will have our publish or delete buttons. And so for now, since we haven't written those buttons, we're just going to kind of stub that part out. And so one thing I forgot to do up at the data source is add a close parentheses. And so I'll circle back to that. But before I get there, we then need to create our table. I have to make sure that I return text if there aren't any results yet. And then I have to export the table. And here I'm finishing off that close parentheses that I forgot to do before. Okay, so now that the feed component is created, we can then add 2 copies of it to our index page. So we're going to have a feed and a hidden feed. And so you can see that both are displaying here at the bottom.